Devin Booker, I'm sorry, I owe you an apology. I got on TV and said you will not go 20 for 25 again. You messed around and went 14 for 18, 3 of the 4. So, sir, I apologize. Love the way you're playing.
D-Book was so hot in these playoffs that he had the biggest hater of all time apologizing. Do you know how hard you have to ball to get an apology from Mr. I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game? High key, that meme is one of my favorite memes of all time. When you have a bad take and you whip that one out, all of a sudden that take that you had doesn't seem so bad. What can I say? Comedic relief is king, and with the way that these playoffs have gone, I think that some of us will be needing quite a bit of it, especially Suns fans who have seen this same story too many times already. Suns fans, don't feel too bad. As a Pelicans fan, I'm still trying to get over our disappointing exit to the play-in tournament. Also, I'm still trying to get over the fact that we should have never been in that tournament in the first place. Yeah, guys, I guess you could say that I'm still in disbelief at the way that this season has turned out for us. The same way that I'm in disbelief at how hot that D-Book was this postseason. This guy was legitimately doing things that had never been done before. This postseason, Book would become the first player over a 9-game span to average 35 or more points per game while having a 70% or better true shooting percentage. But you see, his hot play still would not be enough, as Book's help would be inconsistent even though he wasn't until Game 5. Game 5 was sort of where everything changed for the worse for the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker. But before we go any further, today's content is brought to you guys by SoRare. Guys, our private league for SoRare is now up to over 275 members and showing no signs of slowing down. For those of you guys that didn't know, NBA Playoff Game Day is now here on SoRare. So, we have a postseason long tournament that is being cumulatively scored to produce a total tournament score, which is great news for you guys because it means that you're going to have the chance to win some really awesome prizes if your score is high enough. For my lineup this week, I'm going to lean heavily on the back-to-back MVP Nikola Jokic, who hasn't let me down since I've packed him. Remember to take advantage of your daily drops, guys. I did, and I got Nikola Jokic. That could be you. Also, remember to use the link in the description below to sign up for SoRare and to join my private NBA league. If you sign up using my link, you'll get 20 free common cards to help you get started, which can be huge when it comes to climbing that playoff leaderboard. So yeah, set those lineups, guys. A huge shout out to SoRare for coming through and sponsoring today's content. When you go out as sad as the Suns have the last couple of years, there's a lot to unpack, and the trend that's forming that you should definitely want to put an end to at all costs. Let's go ahead and start with last season's mess. Last season, the Phoenix Suns would win a league-best 64 games, setting a franchise record for wins. Last year, during the regular season, the Suns looked like absolute juggernauts. Sure, they would have their moments, but for the most part, they were a well-oiled machine. A well-oiled machine that broke down at the worst time in the NBA playoffs.
Under a minute to go here in the first half. Stunning. 27-point lead. Down goes Johnson. 3. Bullseye.
Oh, no.
They're shredding him.
Oh, no, he didn't.
There's nothing wrong with being a 1 seed and losing to a red-hot 4 seed in the playoffs. But for me, the way that they lost was inexcusable. The Suns showed no fight, no energy, no cohesion, and were embarrassed on their home floor, losing 123-90. Suns fans got to watch a historic season only to have it followed up by a historic loss. Let that sink in. Something like that could mess with even the most solid of fans. That Mavericks series would bring internal dysfunction in Phoenix into bright lights as DeAndre Ayton would emerge as a scapegoat, with Monty Williams displaying clear frustration with the play and energy level of Ayton. After that series, when Monty would be asked about Ayton's future with the team, Monty would say, "DeAndre's situation is something that we'll deal with this summer. I don't want to say anything in regards to that. James and I are going to have conversations about the team in general." This mess would only continue to spill into the offseason with reports of Monty and Ayton not talking. Though Ayton did end up getting his bag signing that 4-year, $133 million contract, this contract just always sort of felt like something that this team had to do so they wouldn't lose him, especially after he signed that offer sheet from the Pacers. Even if Ayton was the worst player on the planet and I didn't want him in the least, I'm giving this guy a contract just because I drafted him over Luka Doncic. Maybe I wouldn't have been the best GM, but at least I would have had something to show for it. You know what, that's actually pretty bad logic. I take that whole statement back. The Suns wouldn't make any groundbreaking roster moves last offseason, which was surprising, yet that wouldn't hold them back from starting the season hot. But of course, unfortunately, injuries would start to take their toll. Eventually, the Suns would begin to drop in the standings, even falling under 500. Phoenix would eventually weather the storm and start to pick up wins, and then, February 9th, they shocked the NBA world by trading for Kevin Durant, removing him from a team that was looking really good when everybody was healthy. As we all know, Kevin Durant would not come cheap, and what was a multi-team deal, the Suns would trade all of Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 unprotected first-round picks, a first-round pick swap, and 2 second-round picks in order to acquire Kevin Durant. Mikal Bridges would go on a tear after the trade, averaging 26 points on 46% in Brooklyn while being the guy. There's no other way to put it. He flat out looks like he's destined for stardom and that he's only scratching the surface of his potential. As a matter of fact, his high release point and his infatuation with the mid-range game reminds some people of Kevin Durant. My guy Cam Johnson would also take things to another level, bumping his average PPG up to nearly 17 points, shooting 48% from the floor. Meanwhile, the Suns, on the other hand, would end up going 8-0 with Kevin Durant during the regular season. Albeit against the light schedule, 8-0 is 8-0. In acquiring Kevin Durant, the Suns would immediately become one of the favorites to win everything. Kevin Durant to the Suns was one of those moves that just didn't feel real. With both of these parties positioned for a major bounce back this postseason, I sadly bought the hype. With Kevin Durant being swept in the first round by the Celtics last year, and with the Suns going out as sad as humanly possible, I thought that there was no way that this team would let me down to this extent again if Kevin Durant was truly still a top 5 player, but yet here we are. As a huge Kevin Durant fan, even I can't deny the fuel that he's been giving his haters as of late. There's a large group of people out there that still believe that he can't do it without Steph Curry, and in their defense, he hasn't. Durant aside, we have some of those same woeful narratives that plagued this Suns team in the past resurfacing again. Chris Paul would be injured. The high-end talent wouldn't be enough to carry the team in the postseason despite the poor coaching. And then there's that whole DeAndre Ayton thing. Ayton's lack of energy and overall soft play would cause him to get benched in favor of Jock Landale for the final 5 minutes of Game 3. Though his overall vibes would be horrendous, the team would understand that if they were going to win a championship, that they needed Ayton playing some high-quality basketball, or at the very least, playing with effort and purpose. This sequence right here was anything but playing with effort and purpose.
3% as a team. Durant, nice look. Ayton unable to finish. And then Murray got in there over Ayton. Jokic to the corner. Extra feed. Porter Jr. will fire. And hit from 3. Ayton the rebound. And then Bruce Brown swipes it away. Jokic floats it in.
Bear in mind that during the Suns' finals run a few years ago, Ayton did have some success against Jokic en route to the Suns sweeping Denver. Regardless of past success, it was clear that the Suns had no answers for Jokic, with Jokic averaging 34.5 points, 13.2 rebounds, and 10.3 assists for the series. Guys, Jokic is loudly putting together one of the best playoff runs that I have ever seen. If you guys want a dedicated Nuggets video, then I gotta bring it to you guys soon. Ayton would miss the final game of this series with a rib contusion, and like we all guessed, the Suns will be faced with another disappointing playoff exit, losing 125 to 100. Fun fact, according to StatMuse, the Suns were 0-4 this series when Devin Booker didn't shoot 78% or better. That's not really a percentage that you want to have to ask a player to sustain just so you can win games. Post-game, Kevin Durant said that this game sucked. It was a bad feeling, it was embarrassing. They came out and hit us in the mouth and we couldn't recover. If you're a Phoenix Suns fan, right now you're faced with nothing else other than reality. Your team needs to find its point guard of the future. Kevin Durant is 35 years old and not getting any younger. You also have to ask yourself, is this the last that we've seen of DeAndre Ayton? We are already seeing reports that the Suns are expected to aggressively explore the trade market for DeAndre Ayton, who would welcome a fresh start with a new team. Guys, I can already feel that this offseason is going to be epic. Trust me when I say that you are going to want to make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. The Ayton situation is a very tough call for me because on one hand, he has all of this talent and can be a great modern center. Maybe he looks different if CP3 never comes and he has a better relationship with Monty Williams. Either way, he doesn't really have a good reason to let down his teammates the way that he did. And if you trade him now, are you going to get the most value out of him? I guess the other side of that argument for Phoenix is, do you really have the time to wait? I love Monty Williams as a person, but in the playoffs, he's put together some disastrous coaching performances, which isn't a knock on his tenure, because I do believe that he's done a lot of great things for Phoenix and their culture. But at the same time, the Suns have had this embarrassment of talent that hasn't really reached its full potential in Phoenix, which I guess could have been a contributing factor to Monty Williams just getting fired. Saturday, May 13th, Woj would announce that Monty Williams and the Phoenix Suns would be going their separate ways. If Monty getting fired isn't proof that it's hard to be a head coach in the NBA, then I don't know what is. This guy won Coach of the Year twice in 4 years in Phoenix. He also helped to lead the Suns to their best record in franchise history. So yeah, guys, if you're a coach and you want to get fired, just go out and lead your team to the best record in the NBA. Because according to ESPN Stats and Info, none of the coaches who have done this in the past 6 seasons are currently with that team that they did it with. Low-key, I feel like once you overachieve as a coach, that overachieving then becomes the standard for you. Yeah, guys, as I said earlier, being a head coach in the NBA can be incredibly tough. Perhaps it's still way too early to ask this question, but give me your way too early response if that's the case. If you were the Suns, would you do the Kevin Durant trade again? Part of me wants to rate the trade now and continue overanalyzing the Suns, but the other part of me just thinks that the Nuggets and Jokic might be that good. You know what? As a matter of fact, I know that they're that good. With Jokic playing like this, they might just be the team to beat. Also, I suppose if you never do that trade, you are at least still younger with more flexibility and assets. I don't know, it's something to think about. If you were a Suns fan, to go through this again sucks, but you have to think that Matt Ishbia will right the ship or at least do his best to. I'm expecting to see some fireworks this offseason from Phoenix. Matt has already shown that he's not afraid of the big move. Let's also hope that he's not afraid of acquiring more depth. Sometimes it's the small moves that are really the biggest ones. In the comments below, let me know what you think of everything and what you would do if you were Phoenix. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.